You don't have to be so perfect and work your hardest and do everything so perfectly and accomplish 10,000 things before you can get some basic human respect. It's not like I'm so sure of myself all the time. It's more like I've been so unsure of myself over and over and over again. I know what to do when I'm unsure of myself. Hi guys, so today the topic that I want to talk about was confidence. And this is not going to be one of those videos that's like fix your posture, walk into a room with your head held high, make eye contact. It's not going to be one of those. I really just wanted to make a video focusing on developing inner confidence. And I just wanted to share these tips because I was the least confident person in high school. I had so much social anxiety to the point where like I just didn't know how to talk to people. Like, I didn't think anything I had to say was important. I was overthinking all these social situations. I also remember in high school, literally my friend would tell me like, Matesy, you have to be more confident. So I'm just putting this out here to let you guys know the ways that I became a lot more confident, and not just in the way that I present myself socially, because I know I have a long way to go even then, but just like the inner work that I've had to figure out and the lessons that I've had to learn. So the first thing that I want to talk about was basic competence. It is really hard to be confident if you are just lying in your bed and doing nothing all day. When I was at my lowest point, honestly, I was very incompetent. And I'm not trying to shit on myself. I'm not trying to say that like if you're depressed, you need to like force yourself and do all that stuff. No, but I'm saying that you need to realize that you're capable of more. If you're just lying on your bed every single day, wallowing in your own sadness, you're never really going to feel better. And it is so important to feel your feelings. I'm not saying to not do that, but you need to do things and move towards the right direction. Like, you have to get yourself to complete tasks, and that builds your confidence because you know what you're capable of. Part of confidence is having faith in yourself, and you have to build that faith by lying in bed all day, by scrolling all day, by not treating yourself well, by not doing things to grow as a person. You're honestly limiting yourself because you're just reinforcing your negative beliefs about yourself, and you're gonna think things like, oh, I just can't get anything done. Oh my gosh, everything stresses me out. I can't do anything, and I'm just gonna stay in my bed all day. And you're gonna start thinking that you're weak. I know this because I experienced this, where I just felt like I was incapable of doing stuff. In order to combat that feeling of weakness, that feeling of you can't do anything, and just feeling so incompetent and incapable, you need to make yourself do simple actions. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, just very simple actions like brushing my teeth, whatever. You have to start realizing that you're capable, and then you start slowly building that confidence within yourself by doing these sorts of actions. Once you start doing those things, once you start realizing what you're capable of, you're no longer so afraid. I would be so scared of new situations, uncomfortable situations. I wouldn't put myself out there because I didn't have the experience to back myself up. I didn't know like what I was capable of. I just thought that I would crumble. But once you start building that faith within yourself, you'll realize, hey, like I've handled these sorts of situations before. It's fine. Like if it's awkward, like I know I'm able to overcome it. I know I can do this. You have that sort of confidence in yourself that no matter how uncomfortable, how difficult the situation is, you're able to make your way through it. That is true confidence to me. And as well, I want to say that it is so normal to not be confident when you're young. Who expects, I don't know, like a 20-something, like 17, I don't know, kid to be like confident? Confidence is so dependent on experience, right? Like I ain't never met an 80-year-old grandma who's like so, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? Old people, they don't care. It is so normal for younger people to be less confident because you have less life experience. For me, I've only been on this earth for 20 years and I've only literally been an adult for 2 years. So a lot of times, I'm not saying it's an excuse to just be so insecure, but it's very normal to be unsure of yourself. It's very normal to not be so confident, not know who you are yet. At the same time, we can take this and realize that experience builds confidence. So go and experience more things to build more confidence. The experiences that I've had in the past have truly made me more confident because I've been through a lot of really difficult scenarios. I've been with myself through a lot of hard emotions, so I know how to deal with those, and I know that I can get out of those situations. The first time I had to ride a plane alone, I was so scared. The first time I solo traveled, I was so scared. The first time I had to do anything, I was really scared. But because I had an experience of doing those things, an experience of walking into a room like not knowing anyone, like I've done that so many times now, I don't care. It's not like I'm so sure of myself all the time. It's more like I've been so unsure of myself because of certain circumstances over and over and over again. I know what to do when I'm unsure of myself. If I go do this social situation, it ends up like shit, I feel like shit, I know how to resolve that. Like I know how to make myself feel better. And as well, I highly recommend doing one thing every single day that will put you in the right mentality. You know, like that kind of mentality that you get occasionally where you feel like you can just conquer anything, or you just feel so confident in yourself. You have to find a task that will make you manufacture that every single day, because sometimes we're just like raw dogging life. If you want to have some sort of confidence just starting out the day, you need to do something to almost manufacture that feeling artificially. That's usually, at least for me, something that's challenging, something like running. For other people, it could be journaling, it could be meditation, yoga. Anything that puts you in the right mindset is genuinely so helpful. Because I'm a writer, I do a lot of research on writing stuff, and I came across this video that was like about pacing, which is very random, but it was talking about how you want to pace a novel so that in every chapter, the character makes a decision, so it feels like the novel is moving forward. And I thought that was really interesting because I realized that relates heavily to confidence, or just to the idea of being the main character in your life, is the fact that you need to make more decisions for yourself. The more decisions you make, the more your character is moving along in the story. You have to practice making your own decisions. Genuinely, a lot of the things that I've done have just been from my own volition. It didn't have anything to do with external validation, with what other people are doing, whatever, like nothing. That meant I had to make a lot of decisions. And when you make a lot of decisions, you learn a lot from your mistakes. You grow a lot more as a person. Even like small decisions and stuff, I genuinely recommend making more and more decisions for yourself, and you get to know yourself better through this as well. Try not to get swayed by other people, try not to get swayed by what you're supposed to do, and try to make some decisions. Like, doesn't have to be big ones if you're just unable to make big decisions from what you want, because if you have just responsibilities in general, it's kind of hard to do that. But just small decisions that you make it based off of just what you want solely, nothing to do with friends, family, what you're supposed to do, like morals, whatever. Maybe don't break the law, but just make tiny decisions for yourself, and then you realize more and more like who you are, like what you want, and as well you build more trust in yourself and being able to make the right decisions, and then you have more confidence. So now I want to talk a little bit more about staying completely unbothered and not caring about what other people think, just doing your own shit. I want to start this off by saying that if you view certain people as below you, you will inevitably view others as above you. If you think that there's like some sort of hierarchy going on, inevitably there's going to be people on top of the hierarchy above you. And everyone loves talking about, hey, don't put people on a pedestal, don't do this and whatever, and everyone's equal, because it's nice to think that, hey, I'm on the same level as Angelina Jolie, you know, like it's nice to think that way. But that's only one way of viewing the whole, I guess, a horizontal relationship, not like a hierarchical one, just like a everyone is equal type deal. That's a nice way of seeing things, because then you can be like, hey, Zendaya, she's not on a pedestal, I'm the same as Zendaya, we're all the same. We don't really address the flip side of that, which is, you know, some people that you might call degenerates, people throwing around these labels, judging others. And I'm not saying that you can't dislike people, and I'm not saying that everyone's a good person inherently, but you have to understand that we have the same value as human beings. If you view certain people, let's say like a druggie in the corner, or like a girl who just parties every single day and gets hella drunk and sleeps with everyone, if you view those two types of people as just inherently less than you, like as a human being, then you're going to view people as above you. And if you don't want to view anyone as above you, if you don't want to put people on a pedestal, you should not put anyone below you. That is a huge part of confidence. Only a really insecure person will go up to maybe like the most popular, hottest person in the room and act a certain way, and then just completely ignore somebody who's like less attractive and less popular. Because like at the end of the day, like, what is this? Like, what is this? Also, I used to be somebody who cared so much about what other people thought. I was such a people pleaser growing up. I would always put people's opinions above mine. I would always try to cater to other people, always try to make sure everyone else was doing fine. And honestly, like what I realized is that you are just as justified in doing what you want as someone else's opinion about you. I don't know if other people feel this way, but a lot of times growing up, I always put other people's opinion above mine. And I called that humility because I was like, hey, like I'm being self-aware. Like, okay, they said this about me, so that means I should fix this about myself. They said this about me, so like, maybe I am this way. Like maybe I am selfish. Like maybe I am like a bad person. Who are they? Why is it that their opinion about you is more important to you than your opinion about yourself? Yes, it is important to stay humble and self-aware, but at the end of the day, you have to realize that that person's opinion about you isn't any better or any more correct than your opinion about yourself. You know yourself better than that random dude knows you. So if he's calling you shit, like she's so self-centered, blah, 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 why would you care about what he thinks more than what you think about yourself? You know why you're doing things. And if you don't, you need to figure it out, because once you get to know yourself, once you know your own motives, once you know why you're doing things, why should their judgments matter? And I know this is really, really hard, especially for people who are more people pleasers, more open to criticism, whatever. It's really easy to fall into the trap of, oh, hey, like maybe I am wrong. Like, you know what? Like I need to be self-aware and like I need to take responsibility for this. No, you need to be able to stand up for yourself, and you have to realize who you are and why you're doing this. And I know most of you guys have a clear idea of this. You have to realize you're entitled to also have your own opinion about yourself, and your opinion about yourself is more valid than these people's opinion about you. You're entitled to stand up for yourself, to have a backbone, to talk back to these people. Just because you're thinking like, hey, like I could take some criticism, like it's okay, whatever. No, it's not okay. Like it's actually not. Because why is it that these people saying these things about you, like you can just let that slide when you would never say any of those things to those people? And stop thinking things like, oh, who am I to do this? You know, like who am I to start a YouTube channel? Who am I to even try to apply for this job? Bro, you don't have to be the president of the world to be deserving of some respect, right? To be deserving of a job that you're qualified for, to be deserving of some basic ass stuff. A lot of times I always have like this fallacy where I'm like, okay, I need to be able to back it up, you know? Like if I say something, I gotta have to back it up. People are saying stuff with no evidence. People are pretending to be experts with like no evidence. I'm not saying to do that, but there's people out there that they just have the audacity to do stuff. You don't have to be so perfect and work your hardest and do everything so perfectly and accomplish 10,000 things before you can get some basic human respect, before you can value your own opinion and be able to back yourself up. You can just back yourself up. And sometimes what helps me is that I just visualize like my 80-year-old self. Like sometimes, man, on the inside, I'm just an 80-year-old grandma. That helps me with a lot of stuff. Because sometimes you just realize a lot of things aren't even that deep. If you think of your 80-year-old self that's just inside your current body and you're like, hey, this guy doesn't even like me. And then your 80-year-old self is like, really? It's really interesting, like looking back at phases of my life where I was very anxious and just thinking like, if only I knew how safe I was. Sitting here in the present moment, you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. But because you've been through last year, you know what's out there. You kind of know that you're going to be fine. All those times I was so worried, I just think if only I knew how safe I was. And sometimes I have that mentality towards my current self as well. Like just thinking how I would feel about this time in my life a year ahead. And obviously I know life is unpredictable. All sorts of things can happen. But just in general, like probability wise, me a year from now thinking about this phase in my life, I'd obviously still be thinking, if only I knew how safe I was, I wouldn't be this anxious, I wouldn't be this insecure, because I'm safe, like I'm good. Taking care of your looks is also really important. You have to put a certain effort towards your looks, just in the way that you present yourself. And I really want to emphasize this, because when you look better, like if you're just like more well-groomed, you're just going to feel better, because it involves a sort of discipline and also shows that you respect yourself. Looks do matter, I think, in terms of confidence. But in my case, I have looked more or less the same. I mean, I was heavier when I was more depressed, but I was also really skinny and fitting a lot into the conventional beauty standard of Chinese culture when I was in China. And that was when I was really insecure as well. So how I felt on the inside never really had anything to do with how I looked. But it is important to put a certain level of effort into your looks, because unfortunately we do live in a place where looks do matter. And with looks especially, I want to emphasize the importance of trying not to consume things. This is something that I did a lot when I was more insecure about myself. I would engage a lot in consumerism, almost to compensate for how I felt about my looks. Because I was not even eating well, I was not sleeping well, I wasn't even exercising that much. I compensated for all of that by trying to find pretty clothes, by trying to learn how to do makeup and buying a shit ton of makeup, by buying skincare products, like a lot of unnecessary stuff. I'm not saying that like makeup's bad and like don't like fashion, none of that. But I think there is a tendency to want to consume these things to compensate. It's just more important to sleep well, exercise well, eat well, do not starve yourself, and just do the things that cost you nothing. Obviously, it's going to be harder. Obviously, you have to put more effort towards that. You can't just like throw money at the problem. But those are actually the things that are going to make you look better. In this world, everyone's gonna try to get you to buy stuff to help you look this certain way, to help you achieve this aesthetic, that aesthetic. But you're also just gonna feel empty if you don't actually just take good care of yourself just from the basic stuff. Like, I'm just gonna give an example here. Like, when I was in first year university, one of my roommates, she came to me and she was like asking, oh, like what skincare products like should I get and blah blah blah. And she was telling me like, oh, she was having like this issue, I don't know, either with like eye bags or like how her skin has gotten so much worse since she moved to Canada and stuff like that. And I was giving her some recommendations, and then I asked like, oh, have you been sleeping well though? And she was like, actually not really. And I think she was getting like 5 or 6 hours or like less than that of sleep every night. And then I was like, that is probably why your skin is bad. If you are not sleeping well, if you are not drinking water, if you're not eating well, how can you expect your skin to be good? No amount of face mask is going to fix that. Take this with a grain of salt, but I don't personally believe in like an 18-step skincare routine. I cannot speak for people who have certain skin conditions because I don't, but I do believe a lot of things are like bullshit. I've put on face masks sometimes, like, man, just so it feels nice, but I don't think it really does anything to my skin that, you know, sleep can't fix, that eating well can't fix. Makeup is fun. Like, I'm wearing makeup right now. Like, I like to wear makeup and stuff. But a lot of these things are meant to enhance. You're meant to have fun with it. They're not meant to compensate. If you think you're so ugly and you're so insecure and you have to wear makeup every day, otherwise you can't even go outside, like, consuming more of these things isn't going to be helpful. I think you could be better off just exercising or like sleeping well or doing these things. And it's extremely difficult for women, right? Because a lot of times you might be okay with yourself, man. Like, you might like yourself a lot, but then because of these ridiculous beauty standards going on, you might feel the pressure to put on a lot of makeup just to fit them. I'm just saying this not to be like, all women are so insecure and that's why they wear makeup, whatever. No, like, sometimes you could honestly just be confident, but like, you kind of have to for your job, because you just have to look presentable, because that's just the expectation that society places on you. So of course there's that as well. And there's literally nothing wrong with makeup. There's nothing wrong with fashion, liking clothes. The only thing I do have an issue with is just the excess consumerism that's tied to insecurity, that's tied to, you know, making young girls feel bad about themselves and feeling like they need to compensate by buying things. Yeah, that's basically all I wanted to talk about in this video. And I hope that some of these points helped you guys, and I will see you guys sometime soon.